The loss of a part of one's body, like a limb, can be devastating. It is an experience that is likely to cause significant disruption to many aspects of a person's life. One's ability to move around, their independence, and participation in day-to-day activities like they used to, all of a sudden become a tall order. Some amputees start viewing their future and the world differently. Their job, relationships, and their ability to engage with the community suffer the brunt of such a loss.
Yeah, those initial stages, they go through denial, like they have not lost it. And now to cope again with the whole situation is bring a lot of unhealthy problems. So some of these problems are psychological, and which lead also to other challenges like depression, just because of that denial. We work with them through the whole situation to help them to come to a point of acceptance, to accept what they are and what has happened to their body parts. And with that, it brings the healing, inner healing, especially the mind and also to the soul.
Majina yangu ni Steven Njehia Kenothia, na niko na miaka 74. Huu imekatwa na sasa wao wamenitibu. Na sasa kungojea tu. Sauri ni kufuta sigara.
Miaka ngapi?
Karibu 10, miaka 10. Nilisema ni sawa sababu iko na uchungu kwa vile nisikia. Sasa nikiangalia hata mguu hiyo vile nikatakatwa ukitafuta msiba ya damu, nikaona kuna dawa nyingine mzuri kukatakata, nikakubali katikati.
Amputations are surgical removal of all or parts of a limb or extremity, such as an arm, leg, foot, hand, toe, or finger. Amputation of the leg, either above or below the knee, is the common amputation surgery. The Kenyatta National Hospital carries out at least 8 amputations every month for various reasons. They are done under general anesthesia, where the patient is asleep, or with spinal anesthesia, which numbs the body from the waist down.
When they are told they'll be amputated, the first reaction is shock and fear and actually unbelief. And by this time we want to take a consent for them to go for amputation. Some actually will decline.
The reasons for these amputations include peripheral arterial disease due to diseases like diabetes or smoking. In such circumstances, there is poor blood circulation to the affected limb because of damage or narrowing of the arteries. Other reasons are severe injuries from accidents or burns, cancer of the bone or muscle, or serious infection in the limb that is not responding to treatment.
They are very aggrieved. They ask, are there no alternatives? And so we have to tell them we actually had other methods. We tried to save the leg, like we do a belotomy before we do the amputation. There are other methods we tried to save the leg, but we finally bring them to board that this is the ultimate.
When performing an amputation, the surgeon removes all the damaged tissues while leaving as much healthy tissue as possible. They will determine where to cut and how much tissue to remove by checking for a pulse close to where they intend to cut, comparing skin temperatures of the affected limb with that of the healthy limb, and checking if the skin near the site where the surgeon is planning to cut is still sensitive to touch.
Counseling hapa imenisaidia sana kwa sababu hata familia yangu kwenda kuelezea vidole za miguu zinaenda ilikuwa ni shida kusema kweli. Na kama vile unajua uvutaji wa sigara yenyewe hawa walikuwa naona mimi nikivuta sigara. Lakini yenyewe walikuwa najua kuna madhara sababu, lakini although mimi nilikuwa nafikiria maybe haina madhara nyingine. Madhara tu ni maybe ni lungs cancer vile kama vile mara nyingi tunaonaga. Lakini tumerudi tumesaidiwa na kansula hapa Kenyatta na tukakaa chini na pia akatuelezea maisha pia bado itaendelea tu kama kawaida tu, sababu hii ni ugonjwa tu kama ile ugonjwa ingine. Na tulipokaa na familia yangu, tukakaa chini na tukaelewana na tukasema hii suluhu ile mambo yaliyopita si ndwele. Lazima tuendelee na maisha hata kama nini kitafanyika.
The relatives and the family members are key factor in this because they are the same people who will offer support to the patient after all is said and done. After we have treated, the relatives actually we start counseling them from the word go, because if we don't bring them on board when the patient leaves the hospital, we need to know that they are going on well, they have been accepted back, they are being supported, and they are able to pick up their life.
Wakufurahia sababu unajua mtu akitoroa mguu kila mambo yake yote imeashwa nyuma. Sasa maisha yake imerudi nyuma. Kwa hivyo hakusikia vizuri.
The aim of the surgery is to remove the diseased tissue and any crushed bone, smooth uneven areas of bone, seal off blood vessels and nerves, cut and shape muscles so that the stump that is the end of the limb will be able to have an artificial limb, a prosthesis, attached to it.
Especially those who have gone through amputation, they go through loss and grief. So, and with that, they feel loss of their maybe limb of their part of the body. So with that, we help them to adjust again and to accept the whole situation, because that is a loss by itself.
Counseling was now found to be the important part of this process of treatment of patients who are going through amputation. Because before they would sign against medical advice, and they go home, and of course we know that leg will go and rot at home. They'll come back at a worse state, and they'll still have to go through amputation, and sometimes they would come at a critical state. So right now that we have counselors, we rarely have patients who sign against medical advice. Along counseling, you bring them to hope that there will be some adjustment and they'll get prostheses from Kenyatta. So when the relatives come, the other worry is the cost. So that's how come we work as a team. I'll bring in the orthopedic technologist to come and explain the different kinds of prostheses and the cost, and the family now comes to see whether they can choose the one they can afford.
My name is Evan Sokiring. I'm an orthopedic technologist by profession, and in orthopedics we have a variety of things we do. We have the orthotic and the prosthetic side, but today I'm going to major on the prosthetic side. Prosthesis is the art of making artificial limbs for the missing body parts. No, the shoe it is the work of the client to provide the shoe.
The Kenyatta National Hospital in its orthopedic technology unit makes these prostheses at an affordable price for amputees, whether amputated at the hospital or elsewhere.
At times we are called after a patient has been amputated in the hospital, in the ward. So when the wound is fresh, we at times give an immediate postoperative prosthesis, but because it's expensive, in the hospital we give some time for the stump or the wound to heal. So after the wound has healed, we now come and do something called stump shaping. After a patient has come in our clinic and we've consulted and we've seen on the type of prosthesis to give, we now, after the stump has been shaped, we now come to the measurement taking. We have got different levels of amputation, and now when we have above knee amputation, we just take a cast using plaster bandage. And after we've taken a plaster cast bandage, this is what we get. It's a negative cast. So this is exactly how it looks. This is exactly how the stump looks like. So after getting the negative cast, we fill it inside using plaster powder mixed with water, and we get the positive mold. So this is the positive mold. So after getting the positive mold, we now want to create a socket for the stump to be fitting in. So we come to the socket. This is a socket which has not been cut yet. After we've taken it to the oven, we use a suction machine, and then it gives it the shape that we want. We have some trim lines here. Later on we are going to cut it. So the socket, it complies to the shape of the stump. Every amputee is unique in his or her own way. So when we make the socket, it takes the contours of the body itself. Yeah, so once we cut it out, we are going to have the original shape of the original stump. Yeah, once we cut it out, we have the socket now. So from the socket, we also make adjustments as we are doing our gait training. We now get the whole prosthesis. When the patient is walking, at times he or she may be feeling pinched somewhere, so we make any necessary adjustments. And in case the patient develops maybe some pain, there is a way we normally relieve the socket. Yeah.
Okay. Do they need to wear the socket with something else inside?
Basically, for above knee amputation, we may not need any cushioning. For below knee, we do cushioning. Although for above knee amputation, at times we do have cushioning, but it is not necessary because the stump is well padded. The thigh area has got a lot of muscles, so we may not necessarily need cushioning, extra cushioning. Normally, when you take measurements, we consider bony prominence. We have got some areas or some stumps which are bony, and others are sensitive, especially at the bottom part of the stump. So those are the factors that we consider. So when we want maybe to relieve a pressure-sensitive area, we normally do it on the positive mold. When you're doing rectification or modification, it's where we make the necessary adjustments before coming to the socket now. There are measurements we do. So we normally determine the distance between the knee center to the floor. So like this one, the knee center is here. So we normally take measurements from the sound limb. If it's unilateral amputation or amputation on one side, we normally use the other limb to guide us to get the measurement from the knee center to the floor. Yeah, so we also do measurements from the stump, from the original stump to the knee center, or from the seat to the floor. Yeah. The other parts of the prosthesis, like the foot, the knee, we normally import them. So our work is just to do the assembly, and basically, mainly what we make is the socket. But the rest, the alignment, make it a wholesome, we normally do it from here. They come in parts, but we do the assembly here. So we also need the shoe when doing the alignment. It is the work of the client to provide the shoe. So this is acting like as a sock. So the foot looks like this. As you see, it looks like a normal foot. No, the foot is imported. Yeah. We normally measure the size of the foot when taking the measurements. So this size is exactly the size of the other sound limb. On the inside, at times after doing training, you will find that there is some small gap between the stump and the socket. So we always introduce a kind of padding so that we can eliminate that space. For this case, the client has not yet come for training. So we normally introduce the padding when the client has come for training. So this is one of the modifications that we do after we've made the socket. Now this is a below knee case. It's for a below knee amputation. As we said previously, because the lower part of the leg is bony, we normally use cushion. We have got different types of cushioning that we do give, but this is one. It's made of a material called Everform. So you can see the inside. The socket is the same, but it takes the shape of the leg. So once the stump is fitted here, you can then push it inside and then you'll be able to walk normally. This is a client's foot. This is exactly the size of the other sound limb, and this is exactly the shape. As you've also seen in these ones, we normally do assembly, and then later on, after we've trained the patient on how to walk, we come now and give it the normal body shape. As you can see, once you are putting on maybe your skirt or trousers, you may not really be able to notice that there's any difference between this and the other leg. For the upper limb, we also have, this is a below elbow amputation. It's for a prosthesis for below elbow. So we also take the measurements as using plaster, and we still have got the socket. The socket is like that. So we have got two types of prosthesis for upper limb. We have got a functional prosthesis and we have got a cosmetic prosthesis. A functional is one which has got cables like this one, although we have got some parts we've not yet fixed. So once you pull it, it may be able to grip. So it's functional because it works with this grip. Normally the grip, the function, the way the grip works with 2 fingers. So you can grip this phone if you want to, although it cannot grip very heavy objects. So you cannot lift a 5-liter jerrycan of water. But now for a cosmetic prosthesis, it is just there. It is just for cosmetic purposes, as the name suggests. It may not really be the shape of the other hand, but normally it's almost the size. The hand, they don't have a variety of colors. So in order to match this hand with the other one, we normally have a glove. We normally have a color swatch where we determine the color of the client. So we may not really have the exact color, but it's almost there. We also have a through knee prosthesis. This is for a client who has been cut through the knee. So because we have got different knee joints, for a through knee, this is how it flexes and this is how it extends. As you can see, the joint is exactly at the knee area, so that we don't have a prosthesis which looks awkward or which is longer than the sound limb. That is why we need to have this joint specifically for a through knee case. This is an above knee, a child with an above knee amputation. So because the child may not be able to walk with a knee joint, so we normally make it just straight. And because it may be expensive, so the child, because he'll be changing prosthesis over and over because he's growing, so we don't want to make a prosthesis which is complicated.
The loss of a limb is a major event in one's life that requires major adjustment for not just the amputee, but also their family and friends.
Last year we lost a man who was almost 1 year to retire, but he went through the diagnosis. He was told he was going to be amputated right there, and then he declined. He didn't want counseling. So every time I came around, he said, "I'm okay." But we knew that was denial. We tried everything, psychiatrists, and he went down. Actually, he died. That was a very low moment for me, because the same ward, there were other men, and they were agreed for counseling. They came up, they are at home. The sessions will vary from client to client, but having been trained as a counselor, there are those skills that I will employ, like listening, having positive regard to every patient, and also taking time. That's the most effective, taking time to listen to the client, the worries and the fears, and reassuring, allaying the anxieties along the line.
Apart from coping with the health issue that led to the amputation and the pain of such a loss, amputees have to learn new life skills, like learning to walk with an artificial limb.
After we've given the prosthesis, the patient may need to be trained on how to walk again. So we have got the parallel bars. This is the initial part of the appliance that we use for gait training. So our patient comes in between the bars, so we train you on how to walk. Normally when you're making your first step, you start with the prosthetic side. So let's assume this is my prosthetic side. Your first step is this one. You come like this as you're getting support from the bars. So we'll train you. Training varies from client to client. We may have 3 days for training. Others can even go for 1 or 2 weeks, depending on their age or how fast they're going to catch it. So from there, we graduate to the walking frame. From the walking frame, you may use now crutches. We have got elbow crutches or auxiliary crutches. From there, we now take you to the stairs. We show you how you're going to go up and down the stairs. Yeah.
How do they go up and down the stairs?
When you're going up the stairs, you start with the sound limb. When you're going up, you start with the sound limb, and when you go down, it's vice versa. You start with the prosthetic side when you're going down the stairs.
We work with them through the whole situation to help them to come to a point of acceptance, to accept what they are and what has happened to their body parts. And with that, it brings the healing, inner healing, especially the mind and also to the soul.
In a month, I can say we averagely do, for lower limb, we can do like 10 prostheses averagely a month. But for upper limb, we have very few cases. So we may have like even 1 a month. This one, for above knee, this one goes for 250,000 shillings. Yeah, we have got 2 types of prostheses with different codes that we give in Kenyatta. We have one for 250,000 and the other one is for 79,000. Yeah.
What is the difference with the two?
The difference are the components that we use. We have one that we use, the components are more of plastic. Yeah. But this one is a bit different. This is the one for 250,000 and this is the one for 79. As you can see, the components are different. These ones are more of plastic and this one are it's a more advanced type. So because we have people of different financial status, so we always have options. And then for the sockets, we also have a socket which is laminated using chemicals. Like this one is a laminated socket, and this one is a polypropylene socket which is made of plastic.
The surgery will be covered, and they'll not cover, the NHIF does not cover the prosthesis. And this is part of what they have been contributing for their health. So actually it's an outcry for the many clients there that they would like to get the prosthesis. It is too expensive, they can't afford, yet they have a medical cover that does not cover everything.
While the physical wound from the amputation should fully heal in about 4 to 8 weeks, the physical and emotional adjustment to losing a limb can be a long process that needs rehabilitation.
The challenge is a lot of people are not aware of the services that we do offer in Kenya, especially here in Kenyatta. So a lot of people are just using other coping mechanisms when they have amputations. But here we normally ensure that we serve every patient who comes here who is in need of a prosthesis. We normally give a span of between 1 to 2 weeks. We can even take a week because the main process is during cast modification. Once we have the socket, then assembly will not even take us a long time.
The joy of seeing a client who comes with a bleak future and does not even understand what will happen, being able to take them through the counseling process, and the client is having hope and is leaving the hospital with hope and is happy.
The rehabilitation process includes the use of artificial limbs and assistive devices like wheelchairs, exercise to improve muscle strength and control, activities to help restore the ability to carry out daily activities and promote independence, and the emotional support, including counseling to help with grief over the loss of the limb and adjustment to the new body image.
To encourage those who have already been victim of this to seek for medical attention, and on the other hand to seek for counseling. It is not an easy thing to do, but also we encourage the significant others. These are the parents, relatives, friends to come in and help these people because they need full support in this. They can't make it alone. It also affects the whole family and the community. So we also help the family to go through and work with their patients. And in the process, it quickens the healing. And also it brings the healing. During the counseling, it brings the healing within the family and also the community to accept the whole being.
This is important as some people experience problems with phantom pain, which is a sense of pain in the amputated limb, and they would need counseling to help them cope. Dr. Mercy Korir for Health Digest, KTN News.